right up, step right up! Peacekeepers, a CEO, a research doctor, a hitman, and master detectives! 2 dead bodies, but lots of shady characters! Truth bombs are about to be dropped! Time for the Deductuon Denouement!
The victim in this case is one Dr. Weska. This incident features a sinister and meticulously detailed plot centered on the doctor.
The old geezer was holed up inside a lab at Amaterasu HQ. He was a total hermit in the critical lab with a totally overkill security system.
The culprit made thorough preparations beforehand to break through that system.
Boom killing a shut-in is hard work. The humane thing to do is to reintroduce him to society first.
Yeah, with that out of the way. Posing as a hitman, the culprit sent a death threat to the Peacekeepers, the detective agency, and the research lab. At the same time, they contracted a real hitman and had him infiltrate the research facility.
They spilled the beans about Gramps being in danger to lure both the Peacekeepers and the detectives to the lab.
You see, the master detective's presence at the scene was an indispensable part of the plan. It was how the culprit gained access to the research facility, after all. The hitman infiltrated the lab exactly as planned. And we arrived with Makoto at the same time.
Stuff went down, blah blah blah, and Master got locked up by that Yomi guy.
I was rescued by Desuhiko and the culprit, who were disguised as peacekeepers. With the real peacekeepers rushing around, the culprit took advantage of the turmoil to sneak into the lab. But after catching up with them, the power suddenly went out, separating the culprit from the rest of the group.
The blackout itself was caused by the hitman, right? And getting separated was all part of the culprit's plan.
Right. They used the blackout as an opportunity to hide in the vents in the airlock chamber. Afterwards, we headed to the critical lab to check on the doctor's condition, just like the culprit directed us. But since that lab used a separate power supply, nothing strange had happened.
His whole "the doctor's in danger" spiel was an act, huh? He made a fool of you, Master! What a dick!
But then, someone attacked the doctor while we were trying to talk with him over the intercom. We had to get into the doctor's lab.
At that time, the old geezer was playing games with us. And he even tried to kill you and the others with a trap! That bastard wanted to use your dead bodies! He really got you there, Master!
I don't see why you're so happy about it. The doctor's sham made the case even more confusing. Even if we tried to get to the doctor, the critical lab was guarded by tight security. The only way through was by using an Amapal. The culprit rode on it by emerging from their hiding place in the airlock vent and jumping onto the robot's head.
All aboard the Amapal Express! First stop, a shower of toxic gas! Humans can't protect themselves against the gas, but since it's not instantly fatal, it wasn't a problem. Next up, the panel chamber and high-voltage shocks! One wrong move, and it was insta-death! But thanks to that sheltered skink, we got all the continues we could want. So, we managed a perfect clear! The critical lab was finally breached!
The culprit had anticipated we would get through this way. They also knew they would die over and over as a result. The camera feed was affected when the culprit jumped on. I should have realized what was happening.
No use crying over spilt blood. On to the next thing! Where were we? Oh yeah! To open the door to the doctor's lab, Amapal had to reach out its arm and hit a switch. And when the door opened wide enough for a person to squeeze through, the killer snuck inside.
Amapal can't follow any new commands while its arm is extended, so the culprit didn't show up on the camera.
Then the culprit boom killed the old geezer using the same knife as the hitman. Gramps was pretty much deaf, so a backstab was easy peasy.
Then, the murderer tried to leave the room before Amapal entered. But they knocked the robot over on the way out.
They then went back into the airlock chamber vent to wait for you and the others to go by.
We entered the critical lab and found the doctor's body. The culprit used that time to get out of the vent and head for the hallway.
That was when they were found by the hitman and stabbed.
They'd already been in contact with the toxic gas, so death was inevitable. However, dying by gas would expose them as the doctor's killer. So they hired the hitman to kill them, thereby concealing any involvement.
I guess that means the killer completely trusted in the Master Detective's capabilities. They knew those powers would get them close to the doctor. But why were they willing to die to hide the crime?
I can't say for certain. Was it his pride as a detective? Did he simply not want his friends to know? Whatever it may be, I'm prepared to face the truth. The culprit who murdered Dr. Weska, and even included his own death in the plot.
Yako Furio! It was you!